Hey guys, my name is Pierre. I'm making an action sci-fi feature film about a US Navy SEAL mission that goes awry. I'm doing it using real practical sets that's actually the interior of a real submersible, as well as 3D and visual effects using Unreal Engine. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be taking Unreal Engine and showing you guys exactly how it is that I parent lights, props, geometry to a static mesh. In this case, it's the submersible vehicle. It's a proxy model today, and what I'm going to do is, instead of just simply parent the objects to the static mesh, I'm going to show you guys a cool hack, which is turning that static mesh into a blueprint. And within the blueprint, we can add many components, add scripting language, as well as an event graph. And I recommend you do blueprints because once you save it once, you have it forever and you can use it anywhere you want, whether it's your movie or your game. This is a great tutorial for if you're just starting out in Unreal Engine and you're into the cinematics and sequencer and you want to learn about blueprints because one day you want to make your game. If you're interested in what I'm doing and what I'm putting out, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you can follow along. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Alright guys, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Unlit so I can see it a little bit better. So as you can see here, this is a really ugly model of a submersible. This is a proxy model. It's not the one that's going to be used in the game or in the movie. It's just to block shots. This was done in Meshy AI, which was a free AI software where it takes 2D planar tracking images and it can create something for you. So I'm just using this to do some rigging some lights and some blocking, and you don't even see it that much when it's actually lit. So I already did a number of tutorials on spotlights and how to make it so that these spotlights have these fog cones on them. So there's different parameters needed, and each of these spotlights has three main parameters, which is the attenuation radius, which is the size of the spotlight, like the length of it. In terms of units, that's at 7,000 right now. It's marked right here. The intensity is at a crazy 10,000. I'm going to bring this down to 5,000. And then the volumetric scattering right here needs to be more like maybe 5,000. And right away, we're going to start seeing some fog. So there's our first fog cone. And it looks pretty good. So we can go ahead and add some other spotlights, like add the fog cones to it, but I just don't think it's really necessary right now. I'm more focused on something else, and that is to make this submersible look a lot better in the dark at night underwater. So in order to do that, I want to make it pretty high tech, and so I can do that by adding some cool lights to the side, maybe on the wings, maybe a brake light, maybe some traffic lights, and maybe a front headlight too, and some spotlights underneath. So initially I was doing this, and I was in the habit of parenting lights within the actual static mesh of the submersible. But the problem that I was having was that I needed to create a different type of light. So rather than just have a simple light, I needed to create basically geometry. So for example, a cylinder, and then I would rotate that cylinder, let's say like 90 degrees here, and then I would be able to do some kind of manipulation with the geometry. And the idea is that I was going to take the geometry and attach it to the ship, to the submersible, and I would put some material on this geometry and make that as the glowing light. So that way it gives off an emission. So that way it gives off an emission, an emissive light, as they say. So it's not technically a light, but it can act like a light. We just have to manipulate the material on it, and that would have the effect that I would want. Now the only issue is that once that's all done, the problem is that Unreal Engine doesn't really let you parent a cylinder or a geometry static mesh onto another static mesh like the submersible. And the reason why is because these are instances. Each one of these pieces are instances, and Unreal Engine is looking for the data points. the actual real source. So these lights are sources. That's why they can be parented in a static mesh. So I had to come up with a different solution, because the last thing I want to do is create all these different submersibles for, like, you know, dozens and dozens of shots that I'm doing, and then having to redo this over and over and over again. I don't want to do that. The idea is to get smart with your time and not have to spend much of it. I mean, we have the technology to do it now, right? So I found a way to convert this static mesh submersible into a blueprint. And within the blueprint is where we add in all the geometry and all the lights and as actors. And as a result of that, this blueprint can go anywhere. It can even be used in a game, and the lights will follow it. It's like adding geometry to the actual main submersible here, and it becomes all one. So let me just show you how that looks here so far. Okay, so there is my original. If you followed my last tutorial, you'll probably recognize this shot where it's a long shot and it follows the Mad Max shot, which looks like this. It's basically just a long shot of a particular vehicle escaping, thinking that it's safe and it's making a break for it, but it's really vulnerable because we're looking at it from an elevated position. That's the blueprint of the landscape underneath it that will be seen with fog on top of it in the shot. So I don't really care about fog right now. I just want to show you guys how I created this blueprint. So I'm going to pop out of this camera here, and I'm going to click on unlit so I can see things a little bit better. And I'm going to click on my blueprint submersible to find it. And then I'm going to speed up my camera. It's pretty fast. And then I'm going to move toward it. That way I'm not messing up any of my animations. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it on lit mode. And you can see a little bit better. It's just some examples, some rudimentary examples of some lights. So I've got a geometry piece there. I got another geometry piece there with some glowing lights. I got a tail light going on. And then it's just a duplicate mirror effect on the other side. And then on the front of it, I'm just using one spotlight for now. But if you look closely, I wrote BP here for blueprint, and there is nothing underneath. There is no parented lights. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse to Asset, and it's going to find my blueprint here. Then I'm going to click on this blueprint. It's going to open up here, and I'm going to go into the viewport, and this is where I can see everything related to this blueprint, the static mesh blueprint. And if I, right here in the components is where you can add in all your geometry or even a spotlight, and manipulate them to your heart's content and add in any kind of element that you want. So that was it. And this was a brilliant idea to do this this submersible in which it's all done in one blueprint. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that now. Okay, so if you're looking to parent lights or props to a static mesh, so it could be like a vehicle, in this case it's a submersible, here's how to do it. So what you're going to do is you're just going to click on the static mesh, and then right here, beside the add button, beside adding a new component, there's this button here that says converts this actor into a reusable blueprint class that can have script behavior. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that button, and I'm going to call it something. I'm going to call it blueprint sub 2 example, because I'm not really going to use this one. But I'm going to make this a new subclass, and I'm going to click on, I'm going to make sure that it's exactly where I want it to be. And I'm going to change this name here, and I'm going to put this in my blueprint folder. Make sure you keep everything together so that it doesn't get lost. And I'm going to click on select, and now there it is. We got our first blueprint class. And if you wanted to go ahead and add, let's say, a spotlight, right? In this case, we would add, you can just look for it here and type it in. It'll find it for us. And it's amazing. Like, all you need to do is bring it in here, and we can even set the controls on here for it to have the parameters for it to have a really cool fog cone. So the only thing I don't like about this blueprint class is that I can't create my favorites. If I click on that one, you'll see the 3 parameters needed for a really good high fidelity fog cone underwater. So in this case, you just got to know them all. So in its intensity, I'm going to keep that at 5,000. The outer cone looks not right, so I'm going to put this at 13. The inner cone I want it at 12, so there'll be some kind of blur there. The attenuation radius, 1,000 is just not enough. It's in a huge landscape area, so I want this at least 20,000. And then the next one is the volumetric scattering intensity. This is where the magic is. I'm going to put it at 6,000, and that will create the volumetric fog multiplied by the intensity of the light. So that's the first one. I'm going to go ahead now and click on compile, and let's go take a look at it and see if we can find it. So there's our blueprint. Now I'm going to turn on the light, and let's see how it's going to come out. Okay, we should see the fog here. Okay, we don't see the fog cone yet. Let me see what's going on here. I'm going to click on exponential height fog. Everything here looks about right, except for the near fade-in distance. So the camera's too close to this right now. So if I put this at 0, now we're going to see it. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make sure that it has some old lights. So these are the old spotlights here that they were just kind of left dangling in the wind here after we converted the static mesh into a blueprint. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on all of these and delete them because they're not needed and I don't want them there to confuse us. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on that static mesh, and that is the light from the blueprint. If we move this around, you can see that light there. So that's the original blueprint that I had at the beginning of the video. This is the one I just created. And I'm going to open this up again. The way to open it is to go to Browse to Asset and open it up from here. And then if you want to increase, I just want you guys to see this. I'm going to keep it on this screen. If you want to increase that fog density, I'd put this up to like 10,000. This is probably going to be overblown. And then the intensity, I'd put it up to maybe 7,000. And it's really going to overblow it. And it doesn't take effect until you hit compile. And save. And then if you really want to see what it looks like, you just press escape. Well, so there it is there. Now you can see the submersible starting to take effect, or the first light is on. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to create specific geometry lights based on geometry. So I'm going to open up this blueprint again, open up the viewport, and so if I wanted to create a light here, let's say we want that cool blue bar light coming out of the side of the hull here. Well, in that case, I just go to add, and then I'd go to, where is the cylinder? I don't see a cylinder. Let me see if I can find it up here. There it is. And what I'm going to do here is just bring this down. But I'm not going to finesse with it right now. I just want to show you guys the basics, how to do this cool hack that is a great start if you're into cinematics and the sequencer. This is brilliant. So the next thing we're going to do here is add the material element that is going to make it lit or appear to be lit. So now that we're in the content browser for materials, this is where I'm going to save it and create a new material. And I'm going to type in MI for material instance, then dash sub light 2. Then I'm just going to open this up. Here's a constant 3 vector. So we need a constant 3 vector, and then here it's going to be a constant. This is going to be able to control the emission. and then a multiply. And we can just click on M and then left click, and there's our multiply. So I'm going to plug these ones into B, I'm going to plug this one into A, and of course this is for the emission channel, the emissive color. So I'm going to go ahead and create a color here, maybe make it look like a light that reflects the power within the sub or something. Maybe more green. And then for this one here, this is going to be the value for the emission. I'm going to set that to 20. And you can see it's glowing now. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on save. Next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up that new blueprint that we just created, which is this guy. And I'm going to go to browse to asset, then double click on it. And then go to the viewport here and find that geometry that I created for the light. There's the tube there. I'm going to click on it, and the static mesh here, I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to go into the material here, and I believe it was material instance sub light 2. And there it is, there's that green light. And let's see how it'll look. So I'm going to move it in this way so that we can see it. And then I'm going to click on, move this out of the way. There it is. It's already there. It's compiled. But you can see it there. It's pretty rudimentary right now, but you can finesse with it, and you can make these different shapes of lights all you want, and it'll reflect it. And that's how you can really create something really cool in terms of lighting and geometry on your vehicle for static mesh, turning your static mesh into a blueprint. And from there, there's many, many other things that we can do with this blueprint. So if we want, when we start building out the demo for the game, we're going to be doing the construction script and the event graph, and it's going to correlate to the movie and the events happening in the movie. If you guys are interested in seeing more, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.